that be?
Ooh.
Oh yeah, I like that.
Well, g'day guys. Super excited to announce that we are building a new boat. After talks with Alan from Big 5 Marine, Boats Unlimited in Wangara, I've decided, after much looking around, believe me, I've been looking around at boats for quite some time, looking at second-hand ones. You've probably heard me talk on my channel again before about getting an outboard for my boat and modifying my boat. We've talked about it, we've looked around. I've decided we're going to step up and we are going to be building one of these, the Baron Outrider. This one is not the boat. This is a sister ship. Ours is still not quite here yet, but it'll be here in a couple of weeks. So what I'm going to be doing over the next few weeks, we'll be going through the whole lot. I'll be talking about the build as we're putting it all together, why we've chosen certain aspects, the whole layup, the whole building process of the boat, how it comes together, and why we're setting it up the way that we're going to set it up for how we work. It's basically going to be a full custom build. Everything's going to be the best of the best, and we're super excited about it because it's probably going to open up a whole new aspect to our channel and just open up a whole lot more opportunities. So we're in the workshop now at Big 5 Marine. You probably see there's a lot of boats going on here. This is a 7.5 metre Orca next door getting built here. These builds are all hand laid glass, not any wood at all inside of them, foam filled, positive flotation, very solid boats. We're super excited. So our boat will also be having a walk-through transom like this, making it so much easier to climb in and out when we're going for a swim and so forth in the summer, doing some snorkeling. We're probably going to have some sort of a drop-in door here so we can still lean up against when we're fishing. But as you can see, there's plenty of room. Probably from one of my past videos when I did a bit of a rundown, we showed you the whole boat. But what these boats these hulls are actually laid in South Africa, so I can't get into the factory and show you the actual layup of the hull. But what I have got here is a lot of photos of the actual hull getting laid up. So I'll run through those photos and we'll talk about how it comes together. And as soon as the hull arrives, which should be in another 4 or 5 weeks, then I'm going to video the whole fit up process. Everything, the whole fit up and the build process is all done here in WA. But the boats are hand laid over in South Africa. So as soon as the boat gets here, we'll run through all that with you, and then we'll talk about engine choice, basically the whole fit up as we go along. But there you go, I'm super excited. All right, here's our new outboard, still in the box. Have a look at this. This is pretty much what started it all off for me. I wanted a 4-stroke for my boat. So now I've got myself a 4-stroke, but a little bigger than I was looking at, and also going on a totally different boat. Brand new Mercury 150.
Fancy.
Look at that. All the stuff that goes with it. Propeller, throttle cable.
Shiny.
Sexy shiny. Righto guys, I came home to finish the video. We were sort of just loitering around the workshop and they had work to do and wanted to use power tools, which they couldn't do while we were filming. So I thought I'd come home and talk about the rest of it while I'm back here. So number one choice, why did I choose Big 5 Marine? I've been talking to Alan and Big 5 for probably 2 years now. I spent a bit of time around the workshop there speaking to him. I did speak to him about modifying my Fraser. We were going to put an underfull of fuel tank in it, glass a bit more strength into it here and there, make a few little mods, and I was going to stick a 4-stroke onto it, which I'm sure I've spoken about in a couple of my videos before. After chatting to Alan about that, I kind of decided that it just wasn't really worth the money throwing into that little boat. It's a great little boat, there's nothing wrong with it, but it just wasn't worth throwing 20 or 30 grand out to get it to the standard where I wanted to get it to. and even still it was only going to be 5.2 metres. It was never going to grow any bigger. It would have got a bit heavier, but it was never getting any bigger. So after that, I kind of decided that what I really needed to do was just get another boat. So I thought secondhand. I was looking around. I'd always loved the Haynes Hunters since I was a kid. Since I was, oh God, I don't know, 12, 15 years old. I've always loved the Haynes Hunters, and the Haynes Patriot was always the one. I even had a picture of it up in my fridge for a long time there. But funnily enough, Alan actually had a Haynes Patriot in the yard there, and I had a good look at it, and it's just huge. That's a big machine, and it's more than what I'm going to be needing. And I'd looked at a couple of other Haynes. There's a couple of you guys that I've met, subs that I've met down at the ramp, that I actually jumped on their boats a few times and had a bit of a walk around. And while they're lovely boats, there's still just a lot of cabin space dedicated to the cabin, and sort of cuts back on the fishing rooms. So I'd looked around a lot of boat yards. I looked at a lot of aluminium boats. Aluminium, you get a lot of boat for your money. I wanted something around the 6.5 metre size, something I could still handle on my own. Some of the fiberglass boats were just getting a little bit too big and a little bit too heavy for me to be able to do on my own. So I sort of drew the line at 6.5 metres and said that's pretty much where I wanted to go. Something that was affordable to run, easy enough to handle on my own. In my heart, I didn't want an aluminium boat. I wanted a glass boat. So I kept on looking. A lot of the glass boats that were popping up online were all, 10, 15 years old. And for the price of them, it was just, I thought, a little bit over the top. But in this COVID market, that's what people are getting for them. So good luck to them, I guess. The whole reason I started this journey was because I wanted a new motor, something brand new and reliable, and something I know what hours it had done. So that's pretty much what led me down to the factory again to have another look at the Barons. Every time I'd been down there, I'd spoken to the boys and seen these boats in construction, and the attention to detail was just second to none. The guys were building some really nice boats. So the one thing I really liked about the Baron was the how the helm is sort of really far forward on the boat, leaving as much deck space as possible. There's a lot of there's still a cabin of sorts. It's not huge. It's probably not quite a full-length bunk in there. One person could sleep diagonally across it, but I don't really intend doing overnighters in it anyway, to be honest. So a cabin where I can store a few rods and put some gear was all we really needed. The deck space was sort of more important to us. And then the clincher for me was we spent a bit of time with Lee. Lee was doing some filming and doing some promotional videos for Alan for the boats and doing a bit of drone work for him. And then I ended up doing the Rottnest trip with him, which you would have seen my video a few weeks back there. Went to Rottnest on the boat, and that was it for me. As soon as I stepped on board, I went, wow, this is like just really, really solid. Came off the trailer, it was so heavy. Like the difference between that and my boat, the weight difference was just outstanding. I straight away went, wow, this thing is like a solid piece of gear. And then 4 of us were sort of walking around getting our stuff sorted out at the jetty there, and it just didn't budge. It just sat level and flat, and it just didn't budge. Everything felt solid. Everything felt as it was. And then the trip over to Rottnest, that sold it to me. We were flying along at 25 knots, 35 knots, and the thing just ate it. It was eating this chop like there was, it was just eating the chop up. I mean, yeah, it was bouncing around like any boat would, but it never once did it bang. I think twice on the way to Rottnest, we took a bit of spray over the top, which my boat would have been taken full green over the top in the conditions we're in. So when we came back from Rottnest, I was smiling for days, and Lee said to me, Dad, you just got to get one of those. So, and there we were. So I went and spoke to Alan and talked about it, and I procrastinated. I don't make purchases lightly. In the end, it just seemed like the obvious thing to do. So we decided that that's what we're going to do. We're going to build a Baron. So what I'll do now is I'll run you through some photos. Like I said, as it's built in South Africa, I can't actually get into the factory. I wish I could actually, but unfortunately with COVID and everything, there's just no chance. It's not like the offer wasn't there, but with COVID and everything, as everyone's aware, flying and changing countries is not really on the cards at the moment. So the way these things are built, first of all, these are not the original molds. Big 5 Marine have actually rebuilt the molds from scratch from 3D drawings and modified them slightly. So they're slightly more modern, a few small changes put in place. but essentially it is the same shape and hull shape as the original Baron Outrider from way back when. So these molds are perfectly flat, perfectly straight, and the first layer that goes in is the gel coat layer. There's a choice of plenty of different colors. You can obviously a blue one. Most of the ones coming out are white at the moment, but from what I understand, there's a gunmetal grey one coming through, a black one, and one in aqua getting built very soon, which should be pretty exciting. But there's a massive range of colors if you wanted to. I've just gone with standard traditional white on my one. So obviously the gel coat is the first thing to go on. After the gel coat's sprayed in, they start layering in the glass. From what I understand, there's up to 6 people at once in the mold laying up the glass. All this is hand laid and rolled by hand for consistency and smoothness. So they lay up the first 2 layers of glass, and then that's allowed to cure and dry to let all the gases release and to dry out properly before they lay the next layers of glass. All up, we go with 7 layers of glass in the hull, and where it meets the keel, the glass actually overlaps. So you end up with 14 layers of glass, and the keel and around the chine area is around 14 layers of glass. So that's pretty thick and very solid. They get some really thin fiberglass sheeting, and they roll it up to form a rope. If you have a look in this photo here, you'll see it. And they roll that up, and then all that is laid around the chines and into the strakes and glassed in there. And that just to add strength and just to add a bit more thickness to the strakes and to the chines and some extra strength. And then the final layer of glass goes over the top of all of that. So once the final layer of glass goes in, they start to lay the skeleton. The skeleton contains no timber at all. It's all just layers and layers of glass. So the skeleton goes in, the basic skeleton of the boat goes in, and then that is all injected with the foam filling and sealed up. After the skeleton goes in and the foam filling's all dried, and again, that's all left to cure for a few days so it all settles down and the gas escapes, then they foam fill the gaps in between the skeleton. You can see the middle gap is left because that's where the fuel tank goes. But the skeleton around the side of it is all foam filled again with the injection foam, and then that is sealed over the top with glass again. So once all that's sealed in, again, that's left to dry for a few more days. And then from there, they lay in the front layers for the bench seats up in the bow there. And then that's all foam filled and sealed in as well. And then we move on to the top mold. You can see the top mold here being layered up with glass. That's all laid up. Again, no timber whatsoever, all glass, laid up and ready to be installed. So from what I understand from there, the top mold is lifted up on a hoist. They lay a layer of sticky glass all the way around on the bottom of the floor of the hull and the skeleton. And then the top mold is dropped into place, and then that's all glassed in around the sides of the mold, the transom, and then up forwards to the bulkhead where the helm bulkhead is, separating it from the cabin. Inside the cabin, they layer the bunks in there, the supports for the bunks, all glassed in, all nice and beautiful and smooth. And then they spray in the gel coat inside the cabin with a bit of black fleck to stop the glare. My boat will actually be carpeted inside the cabin, but we'll get to that when the hull gets over here, and we'll talk about that at a later date. So then we layer up the pod. So the pod's all layered up. These pods are over-engineered to carry the weight of the engine. They're pretty much bulletproof. They've got more layers of glass than is really necessary, but they're all layered up and then put together, and then they bolt onto the transom. I've actually gone with the full pod on my boat, just to add a little bit more flotation, a little bit more waterline to the boat, and probably add a little bit of stability to them. But here's a photo of the pod all glassed up and gel coated and polished towards the end, pretty much ready for installation. And finally, this is actually the hull. This is actually my hull here. You'll see photos of my hull. This is our hull, all layered up, all ready. It's had a rough polish, and it is ready to be loaded into container. As we speak, it is in a container on a ship, and it's on its way to WA, and hopefully it will be here within the next 3 to 4 weeks, and then we'll move on with starting to fit it out, putting the motor on it and putting it together. So as you can see, guys, it's going to be quite a project. I think I've said it 100 times now, but I'm really excited by this. I'm not going to know myself. The 4-stroke motor is just going to be a game changer for us with economy. Oh God, just not smelling those blue clouds of death in the morning when you start it up at the ramp and having to suck that in where you feel seasick before you even leave. It's just going to be a game changer. The hydraulic steering, it's just the extra weight and size of the boat should open a whole lot more opportunities up for us. And hopefully we'll be able to bring all our new adventures to you guys soon. So stay tuned. As soon as the boat gets here, I'll give you a rundown of how we start fitting it out and the hows and whys of why we're doing everything. I'm super excited with where we're going with this boat. It's going to be a bit of a showcase. We're going to be getting the best of everything on board just to show what Big Five can do. And I'm just overwhelmed that they've chosen me to represent them. And we're going to build something pretty special together. So it's going to be really cool. Look out, you're probably going to see it around the boat shows and so forth. And hopefully I'll see you on the water. But in the meantime, we're going to carry on fishing like we always do. I'm not going to sell my other boat until the new one's ready. So we're going to keep on punching out and keep on fishing because this is probably my best time of the year for catching snapper and whatever else. So myself, Jack and Lee, look for us. We'll be out there on the water. Also, in case you haven't noticed, Saltfix merch. We've got some hoodies, very limited stocks left at the moment. I've pretty much sold a lot of them, but I've got black ones and a dark colour grey. If you're interested in that, slide into my DMs. $50 plus postage depending on where you live. If you live somewhere near me, I might even deliver it for you. But until then, guys, I'm just absolutely wrapped. It's going to be an exciting new project coming up, and I'll see you in the next episode.